March 1970.
Brian Clough won 2 European Cups. He made Derby champions of England. He took Nottingham Forest from nowhere to immortality. And still no England job, no knighthood, no statue at Wembley, no stand in the Premier League. They called him arrogant, but they gave statues to quieter men. They honoured managers with fewer trophies, fewer miracles, fewer demands. Clough didn't wait for applause. He didn't work for favours, he worked for control. He walked into every room knowing he didn't need to prove anything. Only results. And they came. He didn't inherit giants, he made them. Derby were nothing, he made them champions. Forest were fading, he made them kings of Europe. "I wouldn't say I was the best manager in the business," he said. Picture it, Nottingham. A bronze statue, his voice echoing, "I was in the top one." It sounded like ego. But the record disagreed. So did the players, so did the fans. Subscribe if you believe forgotten greatness should never fade, because Brian Clough didn't ask to be remembered. He never led England, but he made Derby and Forest touch the stars. He made it impossible to forget. He didn't care to be liked, he cared to be right, and he was. Brian Howard Clough was born on March 21, 1935, on Valley Road in the old industrial side of Middlesbrough. One of 9 children, a council house, a backyard, a ball. His father worked as a sweet boiler. His mother kept everything else in order. Clough never forgot it. Later in life, he called it heaven. Not because it was easy, but because it taught him everything. All I had was brothers, sisters, friends, and a ball. Everything I learned at home. He played for Martin Grove School. Then South Bank East End, centre forward, thin, quick, and ruthless in front of goal. After school, he went into national service with the Royal Air Force, and when he came back, he didn't waste time. In 1955, at just 20, he joined Middlesbrough. 22 goals in his first full season, 40 in his second. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't fast, but he was certain. And that was enough. By 1961, he had scored 197 league goals in 213 games. Sunderland signed him. He gave them 54 goals in 61 matches. His final league total, 251 goals in 274 games. No penalties, no easy finishes. Every goal was earned. In 1960, he scored a hat-trick against Newcastle. Didn't celebrate, didn't smile. "Scoring came easy," he once said. "Just luck and instinct." In 1959, he earned 2 caps for England. No goals, no recall. "I wasn't good enough," he later said, but the numbers argued otherwise. Then came Boxing Day, 1962, Bury away. He went for a ball, tore his cruciate. The knee never healed, he was 27. Finished by 29. No testimonial, no farewell. But he wasn't done. He just moved upstairs. In 1965, at just 30 years old, Clough took charge of Hartlepool United. Bottom of the Football League. No budget, no structure, no real chance. But Clough had already made his most important signing, Peter Taylor. Where Clough pushed, Taylor balanced. Where Clough burned, Taylor read the room. Within 2 years, they'd rebuilt the team from the ground. In 1967, Derby County gave them a shot. The club was flat. The pitch was crumbling. The dressing room didn't believe in much. But Clough did. He brought in Roy McFarland at 19, quiet, consistent, no mistakes. Then Dave McKay, older, tougher, a winner in every sense. They didn't chase stars. They built a spine. In 1969, they were promoted to the First Division. 3 seasons later, 1972 Derby were champions of England for the first time in club history. Clough was named Manager of the Year. Derby stood at the top, and English football couldn't look away. But Clough didn't change. He still said what he thought. Still challenged the board, still refused to play politics. He called out directors in the papers, mocked authority in interviews. The board had enough. And so did Clough. In 1973, at the height of his power, he walked. No second thoughts, no half measures, just the door. 1972. Muddy pitch. Fans flooded the baseball ground. Derby were kings. 1974. Don Revie left Leeds United to manage England. The board wanted a name. They got a Storm. Brian Clough took over a club he'd spent years criticizing. He walked into the dressing room and told the players they could throw their medals in the bin because they didn't win them fairly. Billy Bremner froze. Johnny Giles stared. The tone was set. His first match? Away at Liverpool. They lost 3-0. A 3-0 loss at Anfield bared the rift. Clough's truth clashed with Leeds' pride. He changed the training, questioned the medical staff, told players to stand up straight, told the board to back him or let go. But Leeds wasn't built for revolution. It was built to protect what it already had. 6 games, 1 win, 2 draws, 3 losses. The senior players shut him out. The directors folded. Clough was sacked after 44 days. No compromise, no time, just the door. He walked out quietly, no rant, no revenge. And yet the shock would outlive all of them. 1975. Nottingham Forest were mid-table in the 2nd Division. Crowds were low, expectations lower. They gave the job to Clough. Taylor joined him again. The fire returned. They cleared out the dressing room, demanded discipline, signed smart, signed quiet. In 1977, Forest were promoted. No one blinked. In 1978, they won the 1st Division title. English champions, just 1 year up. Then came Europe. 1979 European Cup final. Forest versus Malmö. Trevor Francis scored a diving header at the back post. 1-0. Munich, 1979. Red shirts, floodlights, 1 goal. A miracle began. Forest, a provincial English club, were champions of Europe. In 1980, they did it again. Malmö was the spark. Europe followed. Final in Madrid. John Robertson scored the only goal, another 1-0. Back-to-back European Cups. No one in English football had ever done it like that. He also won 4 League Cups, a European Super Cup, the Anglo-Scottish Cup, the Texaco Cup. But Clough didn't care for counts. He cared for control. He gave broken players belief, turned nobodies into European winners. John Robertson, once unfit, unwanted, became unstoppable. Martin O'Neill, once unsure, became a captain in everything but name. They didn't talk tactics, they followed orders. He gave them one voice, and they ran through walls for it. Forest were never the same again. No club in Europe was. Brian Clough won everything. 2 European Cups, 4 League Cups, 1 league title, a Super Cup, a Texaco Cup, an Anglo-Scottish Cup. But that wasn't the measure. He didn't win by systems. He didn't talk about tactics. Before data and dollars, Clough built on trust, not spreadsheets. He won by knowing who needed lifting and who needed breaking. John Robertson said he was finished. Clough turned him into Europe's most feared winger. Martin O'Neill came unsure. Clough didn't care. He made us believe we could beat anyone, O'Neill said. And they did. Viv Anderson, still a teenager, became the first black footballer to represent England. Clough gave him a place. No speech, just a shirt. Peter Shilton's hands secured Forest's rise. Clough's silent masterstroke. He didn't chase media love. He didn't follow trends. He didn't adapt. He expected the world to meet him at his level. And for 15 years it did. There were no analysts in the dugout, no data sheets, no philosophies. There was just Clough, one voice, one room, one demand. And if you followed him, you didn't just win. You remembered it forever. They built everything together. Hartlepool's, Derby, Forest. Taylor found the players. Clough gave them fire. They didn't need to speak much. They already knew. But in 1982, Taylor stepped away. Retired quietly, Clough stayed. Tried to move on. Then came the book. With Clough by Taylor. Clough never saw a draft. Found out in the papers. He didn't forgive it. They never spoke again. Taylor returned to Derby in 1982 without him. It cut deeper. Not a phone call, not a letter. Taylor died in Mallorca in 1990. A sudden heart attack. Clough stood at the funeral, didn't speak, didn't move. No one knew what he was thinking. Maybe not even him. He could rebuild clubs. But not that friendship. The players changed, football shifted, and Clough stood still. Forest struggled through the early 1990s. Clough stayed in charge, even when the fight looked gone. May 8, 1993. The City Ground. Sheffield United won 2-0. Forest were relegated. Clough stepped down. No lap of honour, no microphone, just a quiet walk back down the tunnel. In 2002, he released his autobiography. Honest, regretful, still holding the edge. In 2003, he underwent a liver transplant. The years of drinking had taken their toll. A year later, on September 20th, 2004, he died of stomach cancer, aged 69. There was no national silence, no FA tribute, no final call from England, just a gap. One the game never filled. He never managed England. He was never knighted. His name never lit up Wembley. But the fans never forgot. They built statues: Derby, Middlesbrough, Nottingham. 3 cities. One face, hands in pockets, chin up, unmoved. In 2007, the Brian Clough Trophy was created. Derby versus Forest. Every time they meet, his name is on the line. At the City Ground, they still call it the Clough End. No sign, no ceremony, just what it's always been. A fan once said, "He gave us pride." Nottingham still feels him. Pep Guardiola called him one of the originals. Ferguson praised his discipline, Clough's shadow-shaped winners, because he didn't manage for fame, he didn't live for legacy, he just won. And when he left, he didn't need to explain anything. Subscribe if you believe football still belongs to men like Brian Clough. Because no matter how quiet the honours stayed, his voice was louder than all of them.